You know, I'm surprised I didn't think of this idea earlier. You saw the title. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, I don't need a long intro here. Let's just get straight into the speed paints. I chose 4 stock images for this video that I'll recreate but with my own muses. I always use stock images in the intros of my videos because, well, I don't know at this point. Proper intro who? There are many stock images that are recurring in my videos. The ones I chose are my favorite ones, and I think I've used them all a good amount throughout my videos, so yeah. This first one you might recognize. I'll throw it on the screen now. I love this image and knew I had to draw it for this video. The only thing I had to figure out was which muse of mine was I going to draw for this. So I went back and forth for a bit before finally settling on a muse named Boichia. I challenged myself to not draw my main 4 muses for this too. The main 4, in case people are not familiar with me, are Jihoon, Yongsang, Hyuk, and Hye. I've drawn those 4 a lot throughout my art career, and it got to the point where I had no images of any other muses. Now, I had a more recent spark of inspiration where I started pumping out muses, so yeah, I thought I should try to draw them. Boichia came to mind for this because he's an idiot. In lore, he's one of Mayron's group members. Honestly, Mayron and him are like the group's dumb and dumber duo. They bounce off of each other and do stupid things. I can totally see Boichia having an incident like this at some point, and Haiyang being done with him. Now, this was the hardest image for me to draw in this video. It also happened to be the one that took the longest too. One of the reasons why it was so difficult was because this is not an easy pose for me to draw. On top of that, we actually have an environment as a background, just something that isn't a blank white slate. So this meant I had to put effort into somewhat recreating this. Now, I'm going to be straight with you all right now. I can't do backgrounds, and you will definitely see that in this video. I kind of do something and pray it half works. Sometimes it does, but most of the time, it's definitely something. Well, I guess you can't be good at everything. It's just a skill issue on my end though. But yeah, thanks to actually having things in the background, let's just say I struggled. It also didn't help that I had moments where I was kind of distracted. Distraction strikes me again, and it hits hard every time. But I never said going back into the groove of video making was going to be easy, so here we are. I will say that I feel like I didn't draw Boichia the way I imagined him in my head. I think I just need a normal standstill picture instead of something like this, but at least there's a visual. I think I would definitely need to redo his hair or something because it's a generic style and he looks similar to any average man I draw. Oh well. Now, when it came to doing the other things in this drawing, it wasn't so bad. Like, it was smooth sailing when I finished the parts I don't really like. Coloring and shading Boichia himself was kind of easy since there weren't many details. I debated on whether or not I'll keep the outfit the guy in the image was wearing for this. Ultimately, I decided to. You'll see for the next one I did the same thing, but for the final 2, I did end up changing the outfits for the muses' actual outfits since the images were already simple enough anyways. Alright, here's the final image. This one is probably my best one in this video just because there was more work put into it. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. The next stock image I'm recreating is this one right here. I haven't used this one as much recently, but it's still up there in favorites. Now of course, there's only one correct answer for who to draw as this image, and that's my accidental paint water drinker Kaden. Now, I've drawn Kaden once on this channel. He was one of the muses from Drawing My Muses as Gacha Characters video. I haven't done much with him in all honesty. He is one of my more normal muses though without too much baggage or problems, so that's at least something. Since I don't draw him often, I'm not used to drawing his facial features, so there's a good amount of inconsistency from the first time I drew him to now. It tends to happen with muses who I don't draw too often, which is totally why I should bring back the old series of drawing muses I don't normally draw or something, just to get some practice in. And hey, some muses have graduated from the basement status since then. Like my very first muse I did that kind of video for was Moon, and now I draw him a good amount, so there's something guys. But back to this video. Now, in terms of how hard it was to recreate this stock image but with my own muse, I would say that this was easier. Much easier than the one with Boichia. There's not a complicated background or pose. The only difficult thing was the easel and canvas, but you know what? I'll take it over drawing a complicated background. I was slightly less distracted when I drew this, so it didn't take as long as the first one. That, and also like I said earlier, this was easier than the first drawing. The clothes were even simpler to draw, and sure, the easel gave me a slightly hard time when it came to shading, but it doesn't matter. I can get away with a bit of lazy shading here. They're not meant to be that serious of illustrations. You'll notice the lack of rendering effects in all of these, and that's just because I felt like they weren't necessary, assuming everyone is inside in these stock images. I have no need to go through my usual steps. I think my lighting methods work if a character is outside or if it's some dark room. Maybe I should make an updated 2026 tutorial on how I do my lighting and rendering, but that's something to think about if I'm really out of ideas. I suck at making tutorials, as evidenced by the 2 tutorials I made in I think 2023. We don't talk about them. Now, I really have no comments on the flat colors or anything else on the shading, just that things went smoothly. When things are too easy, I fear it doesn't make good content. Not that I want things to be difficult, but let's be real here. When there are struggles, there's more to talk about. But anyways, the last half of the speed paint with all of that was where things picked up, and yeah, I got it done. I also realized while comparing the stock image to the drawing I made that I didn't do the paint splatters on the canvas. Oops. Oh well, we just deal with it. And also looking back, I didn't have Kaden hold some palette either. Never mind guys, so there are some struggles. It's called I miss details because, well, I actually have no excuses here. At least there's a finished drawing though, so that's all that matters. Here is the finished image. It's not too bad despite the missing details. I think it mostly captures the energy, so that's good. Anyways, on to the next one. The next image I'm recreating is this image right here. I think it's a fairly simple image, so this drawing was my fastest one. And since I had absolutely no distracted moments during this one, I was able to get it done in an actually reasonable amount of time. Now, I use this one pretty frequently I think, so this was no brainer. I had to do it. Of course, I had to think about which muse I should do for this one. My friend suggested I do someone who wasn't the smartest. So naturally, I went with Mayron, partially because I do like him, but also because he actually isn't the smartest. He does have some moments where he reminds you he still has brain cells, but for the most part, he bounces off of Bogia as I mentioned earlier. Now, for those that didn't watch my video where I created his reference sheet, they're probably not familiar with his lore. So I'll just give a brief summary here. An idol in a group, but the plot twist is that he has a weakened immune system, but that's not stopping him. Also, the company is low-key shady, but yeah, he's still trying to live his best life though, somehow. Even though the company kind of mismanaged his group. That's the quick lore on Mayron. Now to yet more about the actual drawing. I was so glad it was just a plain white background because that meant I only needed to draw the character. And the pose wasn't even that hard, so I basically just had an easy time. I will say that when it came to the face, I had a moment where I was like, wait, how am I supposed to make it look again? Thank goodness for me having a reference sheet. His hair also was a struggle because I swear, sometimes it doesn't look right from certain angles. Maybe that's just me. It looks fine straight on, but clearly I need to draw Mayron himself more. The speed paint should be ending soon now, so I'll show the final illustration. Here is the final illustration. It turned out okay, and I don't have too much to say about it here, so we'll move on to the final drawing of this video. Now, I had to make a tough decision on what the final image I'll recreate will be. In the end, I went with this one. Another one I use frequently and something I thought was simple at first. I'll get into that later though. I thought I should choose Fungxin for this because hey, I like him. But also, I think it's oddly fitting for him to just lay there, questioning life decisions. I didn't draw him in his normal outfit though. I drew him in one of his alternate outfits. I will say that as I was drawing Fungxin, I had no idea how to do his hair from the side. He looks very similar to how I draw Jihoon's side view. Oops. Then again, both have side parts on the same side, so maybe this should have been expected. Overall, things were going okay. It was a full body, but that didn't matter. But then it happened. I had to draw the background. You'll see it come up later in the speed paint, but let's say I didn't realize how hard the background was. It's not as hard as the first drawings, but it wasn't some walk in the park for me. When I looked at this image, I was like, oh, it's a room, cool. It's a room, but there is at least some detail. I also had to use the line tool and figure out just a bit of perspective. Does it look perfect? Absolutely not. But I created something. The worst part of this was probably having to draw the floor. The floor is sort of this zigzag pattern. I tried to cheese it at first by doing some weird cross-hatching thing. Don't ask me why I thought it would work. In the end, I couldn't. I created like one zigzag and duplicated it across the floor, but I still had to make some adjustments. Obviously, I figured it out, but that was a process. Then there was coloring. I wanted to add a few lighter streaks to the floor, so guess who painstakingly did that? Me. I did that. I couldn't be that lazy with it. In the end, it's okay. Now, once I finished the background, yeah, it was smooth sailing with actually coloring and shading Fung Shin. This outfit in particular is much simpler than his main outfit, which is why I chose it. Less details and not that much metal to shade. I feel like he probably wears this outfit on default more than the main outfit I designed for him. His main outfit is probably like his favorite though, so that's why it's the main. Now, there's only a little bit left in the speed paint, so I'll go ahead and show the final image. And here's the final drawing for this video. This was harder than I thought it'd be, but hey, what matters is that I got it done. Anyways, that's it for this video. I know I said I wouldn't pressure myself to upload weekly, but I'm still trying anyways. Algorithm things, I guess. If you want to help me out, I'd appreciate it if you can drop a like on this video and subscribe. Hopefully, I'll see everyone in the next video, but until then, bye!